Hello and welcome to another Conscious Conversation with Juno, sponsored by the House of H. Today we are joined by Isa. Hi Isa, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm a little sleepy today. This is like my third one of these today in a row, so I'm a little
Oh,
bit
well,
like
that's awesome.
draggy. Yes, it is excellent, and I get to have really cool conversations, so I'm happy about that. Um,
That's good.
but for those out there who are not familiar with you or your work, please introduce yourself and let everyone know what you do and what your vibe is.
All right. So I'm Isa. I'm actually transgender. I was born female but I consider myself male. And I do a lot of things actually. I do sound healing, Reiki, breath work, and recently I am doing Akashic Records readings. So I connect to the Akashics and then whatever information you want to get from them, and that's pretty much it. And
That is really cool. The Akashic part specifically. So we know each other from having met about 2 years ago, I think now, close to
yeah.
that, doing a breathwork certification, which was really cool. I loved that. I learned a lot about myself in it. Um, but I'm curious, because what I've been asking everyone lately is what was your religious belief or spiritual practice as you grew up? And how did that kind of affect you during the growing phase and like during youth and adolescence and stuff like that? And at what point did you find your own voice in that realm, with whether that means like staying with it or stepping away from it or whatever?
So I grew up as a Catholic, as a Mexican household. It was mostly Catholic. And we obviously did the baptism and all the other things because my mom's still a believer. I have nothing against it. It's just not really for me in a sense. I always felt something was missing, there has to be something bigger. I don't know. I just had so many questions, no answers to it. I still love the Virgin Mary and all that because I could feel the presence there and other angels and stuff like that. So I do believe in that because I feel the energy when I connect with them. But it's like a balance because I could be believing in that part of it, but not completely everything they say. Because I mean, the Bible, it keeps translating, so it turns to something different.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, people nitpick and cherry pick versions of the Bible that they want to use against people, so it's completely valid to cherry
exactly,
pick your belief structure within that framework as well.
exactly,
So,
exactly,
yeah. Let's just say that.
exactly. Exactly. So it's kind of like, and then when they say like, oh, you're going to hell because you're transition, you should have loved your body before that and all that stuff. I'm like, well, I do love my body. I just didn't feel connected to it. And then as I started going older, I started connecting more to my spiritual route. However, my mom was, yeah, she was a church person, but also believed in cleansings. So she would do like the egg cleansing and connect with,
Umancy.
yeah. So she would connect with people that talk to spirits. So I was aware of it. So I was kind of in a balance of both worlds already since I was a kid. So to me, it didn't feel that unnatural. So I was more curious about the spiritual side instead of the church part of side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up Cuban and Italian, I was brought up predominantly Italian. On the Italian side of my family, I was brought up Roman Catholic. And there were also a bunch of things that people would do that felt a lot like witchcraft that I would be like, "What is this thing you're doing?" And they would be like, "It's tradition." And I was like, "Okay, well that tradition seems a lot like witchcraft." Like like what
Exactly.
like what it was if somebody felt like they got the eyes or they got like overlooked or whatever, people would call you and there was a series of prayers you would do and then you would like cry or yawn or puke or something would happen or
Exactly.
um somebody's having a baby and you would hold like a needle and thread to tell if it was going to be a boy or a girl or whatever. There were just so many things for me growing up that were like, that's not that's not what you're saying it is. And it was very curious for me. Um,
Like,
so you brought up something that made me think of something rather interesting. Because you'd mentioned being trans, so thank you for sharing that. But when you were growing up and you were feeling this mismatch, let's say, for like what you're seeing in the mirror versus what you're experiencing internally, and then you're being brought up in a spiritual path that has a very specific opinion about how people in the binary should act with their bodies. What was that like for you?
like it was well, to me, honestly, when I was younger, I was allowed to play with cars. My mom, instead of buying me dolls, she would actually buy me cars because that's what I wanted. And I would cry, I guess. Like, but then growing up, I guess she started feeling like, oh no, you have to play with dolls or you have to dress this way. I don't like how you dress. I don't like how you do your hair. And then at one time I just chopped my hair up and I felt the most amazing, like I felt myself, right? And she did not like it. I kept having, I hadn't transitioned it yet. So she was really like, that's for boys and all this stuff. And she was just worried. She's a mother and she was just worried. But it
Yes.
was hard. Like I had a lot of trouble with her until I came out. She kind of understood after like where I was coming from. She still is not accepting of the calling me he. It's understanding. Like I don't, you know, but it is hard sometimes. Like mom, you gotta start calling me. Like I feel weird when you say she in front of others. Like you gotta
Yeah.
like, especially family members in Mexico or something. So I had to have that talk with her. She's like, oh, I know, but it's kind of hard for me. I'm like, well, at least try. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't.
give it a go. See how you feel
Yeah,
about it.
exactly. But I mean, I still love my mom, so I still have those talks with her.
Oh yeah, and I think I'm I'm not trying to suggest that anyone doesn't love their parents, and also I think that as a queer person who has also had a journey with gender and identity and stuff like that, I think that I got to a place recently where having compassion for the fact that this is your parents' first lifetime too, or like this is their first time remembering life on this planet as well. It helped me create peace around some things with my mom and how she like will and won't acknowledge certain things about me and things like that. So it's I uh I think that I just had a conversation with someone just before you, actually really interesting, who was saying that in the environment he grew up in, it was not safe, like to be queer or anything. And his father was like a cop when he was younger, and they used to target practice on people that like the printouts for like gun ranges or whatever
Mhm.
that were like that looked like two men holding hands and stuff like that, and like just wild things.
Wow.
And so he was talking about how when the people that are supposed to keep you safe are unsafe, how do you deal with that type of thing? And I think that in my case, and it sounds like in your case as well, when you have a parent that accepts you and maybe just has struggle like kind of crossing the finish line or closing the gap in the last bit of it, you get to a point where you're almost like, it's not even worth it anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm grateful. It's not worth like having the argument. It's not worth the conversation.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I just, yeah, I get it. I totally get that. And so you experienced this growing up and you saw the more spiritual side of things happening. So at what point, I guess, did you say more completely like, okay, I get this other part of it. This part isn't for me, but I want to understand more about this. And after you experienced that, what was the thing you dove into first to explore that? Because now you're like full in it, right? You're sound healing
Yes.
people, you're visiting the Akashic record, you're doing all the things. So
Yeah. Yeah, before I even got into all this, to be honest, I was actually 19 years old, and I was going to a collision and repair class. So I had graduated as a mechanic because I love cars. But I felt like, okay, I could go to college. I didn't want to go to college. I hated the system of the college stuff, but I have degrees now. um, but in one of my collision and repair class, what's the funny thing, like you don't expect to learn about spiritual stuff, right? But that
yeah.
teacher started talking about Dolores Cannon. I don't know if you know who that is.
Love Dolores Cannon. Yeah, I've
Yes.
I've definitely gone round one HHQT, H QHHT technique.
Yes.
I studied level one and I didn't pursue it further because it was like such a heavy modality and I didn't really realize that, but I love it. So yes, I'm very familiar with
Yeah.
her. Love her.
So I was intrigued by it because he kept talking about it. So I got one of the books, and the books are like this thick, they're like
Yeah. She
so
doesn't mess
big.
around.
Yeah. But I love the information. It's like I could keep reading and reading and nonstop. I just wanted to finish the book. But because of him, I got so, intrigued by her and her work. So that's when I kind of started. So I just started learning about QHHT. And then after that, I mean, I still studied what I studied, but I was still intrigued by it. So I didn't study it. I did study like a different modality, BQH, which is Beyond Quantum Healing. It's similar. Someone who studied the same thing. She worked with her, but it was beyond, so you could do it through Zoom. And
Mm,
QHHT doesn't allow you to do it through Zoom or stuff like that.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're like if you are separate and like your internet connection goes down, you're leaving this
exactly.
person in this vulnerable field and like I kind of see it, but I also think it's maybe a little extra, in my opinion.
Exactly. So then they explain, you could still do it. It's just a Dolores Canyon in the other spirit world, it still allows it. They just haven't crossed that line. Well, anyways. So after that, like I still started, I was trying to feel myself like who I am because I didn't transition until I was 29 years old. So it was like 6 years ago. And I didn't. So I started going through a process. There was one year where, I was just feeling depressed and I didn't know what to do. And then during COVID, COVID.
The Great
So,
Reset.
yeah. So before COVID, 2019, I was going through, stuff. So I went to do ayahuasca. And then ayahuasca, it's an interesting experience. It was intense for me, but pretty much I realized, no, I had to transition through the ayahuasca experience. Like you got to be yourself, pretty much.
So can
So
you I've heard of many people having various experiences with ayahuasca, but can you explain to your level of comfort, obviously, what that realization was like in while having an ayahuasca journey? Like, oh, I really need to more physically embody this aspect of myself.
well, I had so obviously you throw up or there's different things that happen, but I was throwing up a lot and I just wouldn't stop all night, even though there was nothing coming out anymore. It was just coming. And then I asked, because you're in the trance state, and then I asked like, what is this that I'm throwing up? Because obviously there's something that I'm throwing up, and it said guilt, guilt of being yourself.
Uh,
So I was like, oh damn it. I'm like, all right. So it was even after that, like we went to a group and it was all females, right? I was like, well, why not? I'll just join the female group, whatever. And then in that same circle, every woman was like, I don't feel woman enough. I don't feel like I'm a woman. And I'm like, holy shit, like, but them, they did want to transition, right?
yeah.
But in my sense, I wanted because I felt out of balance. Like I didn't feel my body pretty much. So then after that, like I gotta transition. And then after that, I went to Mexico with my mom, and we went to it's kind of like a this lady who prays over you in a sense, but she also channels. So then in that channeling,
So she's like a
this
medicine woman.
yeah, like a medicine woman, this woman channels Jesus, right? And Jesus said, "Be you." So he kind of like was telling me like, don't be afraid to be yourself if you don't feel comfortable in this body. So like, be yourself, do what you got to do to be yourself, pretty much. And then that's another confirmation I got. I was like, damn it, like putting more pressure on me. Like, I was like, oh, like 29-year-old, you're like, how is that gonna happen? I was scared, because I was 29 and I didn't know how people were gonna react. I was nervous. And once I started, that same year I started the transition, and I felt more. Obviously, it takes a time. So COVID kind of helped me like hide in a sense. So when
Yeah.
people saw me, they're like, "Oh, what you have beard? Like your voice changed. Like what's going on?" And then I'm like,
You're like,
"Well,
gotcha.
yeah, well, you thought, like you thought I was a girl." But and since then, I started exploring. I also had another session with Garrett, and he talks with the Sasquatch. So I started talking to him about stuff like that. And he's like, "Have you ever like my guys through him were asking me, have you like to explore more sound healing, more sounds?" Because since I was younger, I used to be in love with music, and I wanted to do something with music, but I wasn't very, I didn't know how to play the piano or guitar as much. And he said, try to go to a sound bath. So that I think it was 2020. Yeah, 2020. On April, on my birthday, he told me go to this person and they're gonna show you this they call the what is it? Sasquatch wand that they give them they threw us to open a portal to kind of get in the energy of the Sasquatch, right? So then I went
Wait,
into
can you pause for a second? Because I'm
yeah.
very intrigued. So, first, who is Garrett? Because I don't know who this Garrett person is. Secondly, um, Sasquatch wand. What do you mean? Is this like an instrument or is it?
I have one. It's a crystal, and it's infused with this like inside here it has like a Sasquatch. So they it's like a place where the tree hit like a lightning hit a tree, right?
Hmm.
And the Sasquatch told them, okay, grab the little wood and put it like on like crystals. This is amethyst, and then infuse it, and we're gonna make it so you could open a portal, so you could cleanse your energy, pretty much, right?
I live.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was intrigued. I was like, well, I met him. I actually forgot how I met him, but we met, and then he introduced me to it, and he told me, go to this place because he lives in New York, I believe. I think no, I forgot where he lives actually. And he told me go to this place that's near you, and it's like an hour away from me. It's like, and he has one, right? He has a one of the wands, and he'll allow you to, you know, to open it if you're interested in one. I'm like, sure, let's go. And I messaged this person, and they said, oh yeah, Garrett told me, and he's like, but we have an event on April 10th, which is my birthday, and we're gonna do sound healing that day. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
I'm interested. I'll join the sound healing. So me and my wife went. Like I fell in love with sound healing. I'm like, what is this? Like I really wanted to know more. Towards the end, he's like, okay, come into this room and then open with the portal. And like as soon as I opened it, because he taught me how to do it, I was like, whoa, what is this energy? Like it's intense, like it's intense energy. But it was not like bad energy. It just felt like calming energy. Like
Yeah.
it was amazing to
It
me.
can be intense, but also good. It can just be like, you can feel like when something has its own gravitational pull, right? Like it has its own like life
Exactly.
force almost.
Exactly. So after that, I started doing sessions with him, but I explored more sound healing. So then I got this wand, and then I started putting opening the box and then playing sound healing inside the box, because you open like a box per se, and then you just feel the energy flowing. And I don't know, I started exploring sound healing. And then and that same year I did Reiki. I started like experimenting more.
Deep
So
dive. You said, I'm in for a
yeah,
penny, in for a pound. Let's know it
yeah.
all.
So since then I've been going sound healing first, then Reiki, and then I started doing breath work, and then now I finished the Akashic records to be a practitioner, and it just keeps going. Pretty much I just want to learn more and to help people out, like, and it gives me joy, like seeing people like, oh my god, I felt this in your session, and like I feel more relaxed, I could sleep, or whatever they need, pretty much. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing to be here doing that work.
Yeah, I love getting to help people explore themselves through the multiple modalities that I've acquired through the many years.
Yes, of course.
So, so would you say it sounds like breathwork happened like 2 years ago for you, right? And then
Mhm.
Reiki sounds like it was maybe a year or two before that, or like the Sasquatch wand thing was like a year or two
so,
before that.
so Reiki was right after, before breathwork, so it was everything all together, kind of, but it was like one thing after I finished one thing I started the other. So like maybe like a few months after I
So
did.
how long have you been on this portion of the path of like become like practitionership, exploring what those modalities look like and feel like in your everyday and stuff like that?
I want to say, well, since I started doing it since 2020, pretty much. Since during COVID, I started exploring
Mm.
more stuff like that. So yeah, around what, 4 years now that been doing this.
Yeah, that's cool. So prior to COVID, um, what was your relationship with spirituality like before that? Like, were you um uh, I don't want to put any words in your mouth, so I don't want to give you any examples, but what was your what was your life like before you kind of more stepped into yourself through that like information that you received from ayahuasca and from the lady that channeled Jesus and stuff like that? Like before you kind of fully accepted yourself, but were still because people I think don't realize that whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you are inherently spiritual by existing on this planet. Like,
Mhm.
even if you are saying, I don't believe in anything, even if you're an atheist and you're like, I don't believe in anything at all, the fact that you're discussing something that you don't believe in says there's like an inherent quality to spirituality just by being in the body, just by being physically incarnated. So, what was that relationship like before you kind of came to the understanding that, yes, this is what I'm going to be embodying moving forward? Yes, this is like how my belief structure will be changing or whatever. What was your life like just before that?
So I was going to the university, college, and stuff, uh, for graphic design and audio engineering. So I was it was pretty much all day in school, so I didn't really have time to explore more of my spiritual side. But I would, like, in my I do remember like reading Dolores Cannon's books throughout those years,
Oh,
like being
okay. So you were
into.
in it anyway. You were just like
Yeah, I
in the
was
flow
still.
anyway.
Yeah, I was just in the flow. I was just not, and I kept reading stuff because that teacher in college, in college, he kept sending me links of like, oh, look at this website. It talks about this and that. So I still had that. I don't have him no more. I don't know what happened to him, but I had that connection because they hacked my email, so I couldn't get his email anymore. So like, oh well.
Yeah.
So I lost connection with him, but he would send me stuff like, oh, look at this website. It talks about this and all these information. So I was already like, okay. So I kept reading about it. I was just not, I didn't think I could do it, if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
didn't think
yeah.
I could do something like that. However, I discovered that my both sides of my family are very spiritual. Like they don't really talk about it, well, at least in my mom's side of the family, but they have like they call it dones, meaning like gifts. You have gifts, like you're a psychic, or like my mom, she could see dead people, but she doesn't realize they're dead. And she even talks to them, and then she realizes they look weird to her, but she doesn't realize that they're dead. And then that same day or a week after, like they passed away 2 weeks. Someone tells her, like, no, that person passed away 2 weeks ago. And she's like, what do you mean? I just saw them. I just talked to them. And then she's like, oh, that's crazy. So she has that, or she dreams about someone passing and then that person passes or something.
Hmm.
So she has, some gifts there. And then from my dad's side, uh, my aunt is also a Reiki master. And I started learning about it because I don't really talk to them as much, but I started seeing like, oh, and then she told me like, oh, our ancestors were healers. I was like, what? Like, I want to know more. So, I mean, I have both sides, so I'm thankful for that. So I don't know. It's pretty awesome to learn more about it as I get older and I start knowing a little bit more about it. But during
So
those times, yeah, it was like in a limbo, like.
I have a question, and you can also opt to not answer this if it feels uncomfortable for you.
Mhm.
But do you think that being in an environment with a family that was um, kind of more in the woo-woo mystical side of things, like in that magical side, do you think that made transitioning any easier or like kind of admitting to yourself that that might have been your your reality? Do you think that made it any easier, or do you think it made it more challenging? Or what do you think that was like? Or like what was that your experience? Not what do you think that was like? What was your experience
Yeah.
with that?
Well, I feel that it made it easier to understand a little bit as to what's going on. But at the same time, it's like they wouldn't really talk about what is it. They would just say, like you said, like, oh, it's just a tradition or just to cleanse your energy. But I wanted to know more. Like they didn't know how to explain it to me. I guess they thought I was just a dumb kid and like, you don't have to know or something. That's when you're a kid, they try not to tell you much about it. Pretty much like, oh, just let yourself and just cleanse the egg and all that, but I want to know why.
No, not even that part so much. I mean, like the fact that your family was more mystical, do you think that made communicating about your desire to transition or like
Oh, transition.
post-transition, do you think that made any of that easier?
So it was hard because I didn't know um how my mom was gonna react.
Hmm.
She could be accepting of others, their like their likes and stuff, as in uh like if they like girls. She was very accepting because I had friends that were dating girls, girl and girl or boy and boy, and we would have them over the house, and she was very accepting of it. But once it came to me, it was kind of like she was accepting, but she like just don't bring anyone here because I guess she needed time to process. She said, but she
Yeah.
still gave me a hug, and I still love you. You're still, she said, my daughter and all that stuff. At that time before transitioning, and even after when I came out again for when I was going to transition, I told her how I felt. She's like, well, I still love you, and we cried, but she didn't really understand the transition part. But my sister helped me, so it was kind of helpful that my sisters were very accepting, and they would explain it to her like, no, mom, this is going on. He wants to transition because he doesn't feel comfortable. So I was, in that sense, my sisters were very helpful
Mm.
to kind of explain it even further. If my mom didn't feel comfortable explaining, talking to me about it, my sisters were there to explain to her. So it was easy in that part, but it was hard for my mom to accept. If that can, it was hard for me to come out a second time to my mom and say, you know what, I'm this, I'm trans, I still like girls, but in a different sense,
Yeah, you're like the outside is just changing.
Yeah, that's just the
You're
outside
like
is
the
changing.
inside though, same.
Exactly. It's inside same. It's just outside different. My voice is gonna change, and I told her everything, and she was kind of confused, like, "How is your voice gonna change?" So she didn't understand quietly, but my sister was there to explain to her, and she's like, "Oh, okay." So then she was more accepting of me in that sense. So it was hard at the beginning to explain, to come out, because I was nervous of what my mom would say. Like, so it was very hard, but then after it became easier, and as the years go by, like it just feels easier to be, open about it.
Hmm.
I don't tell when I meet people, I don't really tell them I'm trans, because I mean, I don't know them, like they don't need to know my whole life, right? But
Yeah,
and unless I feel comfortable telling you, it's because I really feel comfortable telling you. But if I
yeah.
don't say anything, like they don't need to know.
Also, whether this is, I don't want this to be taken offensively or whatever, but you're very passable. You know what I mean? Like you have the luxury of not necessarily needing to tell people or explain it to people
Thank
because
you.
it's very like I know with me I'm non-binary and I have a very complex relationship with myself at times. It's I'm in a complicated relationship with myself. No, I'm just kidding. But I know that generally, like, I vacillate between like wanting to maintain the genitals I was born with and not, and sometimes not wanting to have them. And like to explain that to somebody sometimes is like a lot. And also to explain generally that I'm like, I don't subscribe to the idea of gender in general is a big conversation. So usually I still identify to most people as a gay man, even though I'm like, well, actually, I don't subscribe to the idea of gender and I'm probably more of a sapiosexual than a gay man because the concept of man doesn't fit me. And sometimes I'm like, it's just not worth the conversation. Like, we're not going there in terms of like,
Exactly.
it's not going
Exactly.
to have a large impact on your or my life if you know this or not. So,
Yeah, exactly. And actually, my friend Garrett, he explained to me is that, because he's Native American, is that, in in Native Americans, they actually they used to be transgenders back then. So when a man used to turn, like, they didn't identify as a man, they would be girls, they would dress like a girl. And they actually saw them as more powerful, in a sense. They saw them like they had powers, or I don't know how he explained, not necessarily powers, but like they saw them like goddess. I don't want to say like goddess, but they saw him better.
like
Like
having more of a direct relationship with divinity.
yeah, so they, like,
Yeah.
if it was a female to male, like if they identify like that, they saw him like a good thing, like it was lucky. It was lucky for them to be like that. So they
That's like
didn't
the
see it.
concept of being two-spirited, right? I think.
Exactly, two spirited. So when he said that, I like it clicked. I'm like, that makes so much, like that's awesome. Like, why can't they be like this now? Like, like why do they
Can we
have
just
to be
adopt this? Can we make this more known?
exactly? So I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So that he kind of brought me like some peace to it. I'm like, oh, thank you. I needed to hear that, and it was nice to hear it. So I was like, okay, now I'm like, I am a two spirit. So I just say I'm a two spirit.
Yeah. I I also identify in that same way because and I think that's why I also maybe at this point haven't really like pursued any type of physical modifications to my body just because I'm like, this is such a shell. And I'm like, I already get a lot of the relief of embracing the feminine aspects of my form when I dress and when I like I put on makeup and stuff like that. So, and also I will say the person I am on retreats is a little bit more different than the person I am in the day to day. So uh, I was speaking to somebody who was supposed to facilitate on a retreat for me in May. Excuse me. And like I was like, oh yeah, like he was like, because he's more of an introvert, and he was saying like, you can do that. You can just like, be around people for like 4 days straight, like kind of turned on. And I go, oh, well, in the retreat environment, it's not that I'm not myself, but I'm like, the show is on. So like,
Right.
and he goes, oh, so when I meet you, I'm gonna meet Sasha Fierce. And I was like, that's so funny to put it that way. I go, but I guess so, because like in the containers, I'm like the most version of myself. I'm like the most colorful version or the most whatever. So I was like, that's really funny to put it that way because I had never made that uh, equation before, or I never equated it to that. So that was really funny to me. And now, whenever I think about that, I'm like, oh yeah, when my Sasha Fierce comes out, that's when I get to express like the
Exactly.
theatrical side of myself. Um,
Exactly.
I've also really felt compelled, not so much to go back to drag lately, but there's part of me that like wants to reincorporate that in my life because I did that many moons ago.
Mhm.
And I think that doing drag for me was a wonderful therapeutic time period. And it was also I learned so much about how I relate to the world through drag.
Mhm.
So I think that that also is always floating on the outside. Pull one of the wigs out of the closet, go do a show. Like there's that part of me.
Exactly.
I'm like, go sit down. That's too much energy right now. Go go sit down in your closet. Like that's so yeah, I think also gender and sexuality and all of this is such a journey that it happens throughout your entire life. For me, at least, it doesn't feel like a destination. Like I'm ever gonna arrive at a version of myself and be like, this is the final version of me. Like I think
Exactly.
I'm always evolving and questioning how I choose to show up and how what I think the most authentic reflection of myself is. And I think that when people come into this existence and they identify as straight or like kind of the primary version of the narrative, let's say, or the most popular version of the narrative, um, I think they don't need to ask themselves questions that we as queer people are forced to ask ourselves very early on. And so, not to say their experience is any like limited compared to ours, but I think that when you don't have to ask yourself existential questions as a child, all of a sudden, like the life or the experience just doesn't deepen in the same way. And so that's kind of I don't know how we ended up there, but that's where I'm at with that.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. So tell me now, you recently got your Akashic Record practitionership certification situation. Where are you headed next spiritually? Do you have any retreats coming up that you're working on? What inspired them? Anything like that?
I eventually want to start incorporating uh, retreats in my field. Right now, I'm still trying to. It's going a lot going on in my life personally. My wife is pregnant, so we're expecting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we're trying to adjust the energy there to help her out, and so. But I'm still doing like sound healing, Reiki sessions, Akashic sessions. I'm gonna start incorporating Akashic sessions, and but I do incorporate like breath work with sound healing and Reiki together.
That makes
So
perfect sense to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, the sessions we do with breath work, how empowering they are.
Hmm.
So with sound healing and Reiki, it's just amazing. Like people come in like, oh my God, what's going on here? They leave relief, they feel like a weight has shifted. And
Well, I
then
mean, it has breathwork does tremendous things, and then when you
yes,
combine it with like other modalities, totally.
exactly. So it's like I enjoy doing all that, and but definitely in the future for sure I am gonna do retreats. I just have to plan them all out and stuff. Maybe you could join me in one.
I would love that, absolutely.
So definitely, that's definitely in the future. But right now, I'm just trying to focus on just the sessions that I do right now, and my wife, make sure she's okay, and as soon as the baby comes, help her out there a bit. And
So my question is, as I guess spiritual entrepreneurship, what is that like, and what is that kind of a transition like from more traditional working, I guess, or more conventional methods for earning income? How was the transition to spiritual entrepreneur or spiritual wellness expert? What was that like for you? And was there anything that you found particularly challenging, especially in the beginning of it?
so it is at the beginning, like throughout the years, I always found it hard to work for someone, to be honest. Like it was always like ah, very hard. I hated people tell me what to do. I still do sometimes. But when I met my wife,
But
we
you're a Taurus, right?
Aries.
Aries. Yeah, of course you
Yeah.
hate people telling you what to do.
Yeah, I hate people telling me what to do. So then we met, we were friends for 2 years and then we got together. But we actually she's a photographer as well as I. So we created our own business. Um, so we have a business in the side that's photography and photo booth business.
Oh, cool.
So it wasn't as hard to transition because I already have that business.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, sometimes, yeah, it could be challenging. Like, oh, we don't know how much we're gonna get this month and stuff like that. So I try to incorporate this stuff for extra. And I also do graphic design. So I design flyers and stuff like that for people. So that's why I have a lot going on. So I try to kind of have a schedule for it. Okay, this day I do this day I do that. And then if I have sessions coming in, I make sure I just put all my attention and energy to that session because I know it's needed.
Hmm.
Um, but everything always works out. I always find it works out regardless. It's been working for me lately, so
Well,
it
thank
works
the
out,
gods for that. I'm very
right?
happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what I guess this is interesting because I haven't had anyone on yet. So you're the first person who's like in the process of becoming a parent. So, as a spiritual entrepreneur and somebody who is very much in touch with divinity or however you want to qualify that thing, what do you look forward most to about being a parent, and how do you hope that your parenting this individual makes a larger impact on the world?
So definitely, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm nervous. Like no one teaches us to be parents, of course, but I feel like what I wanted as a kid was to be understood more and being there for them, like being more with them, like traveling and stuff like that, or just having that sense of security of like, okay, I want to play with you, or spiritual stuff as well. I want to also teach them like it's okay if you're seeing stuff, but there's ways to express, what are you seeing, or be more safe around it because sometimes I didn't understand what was going on
Hmm.
and I wanted to understand. So I feel like I would want to explain to them more in a child way, child way to explain,
Yeah.
Yes, because I mean, there's always things that you're like, okay, maybe you're not in that age to understand as much, but I'm gonna try my best to guide you in a sense. And also, like right now, I'm working with Denise, which she's a dragon woman, um, and she is helping me understand my emotions, like of like kind of like your emotions, yeah, they're there. It kind of reminds me of like the movie with the what is it, the happiness or whatever her name is, and the different emotions, anger and
Oh, Inside Out.
inside out, there you go.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of that
It took me a
movie.
minute. I was like, what are you
I was like,
talking about?
what is that girl name?
Joy is the name of
Joy, there
the.
you go. I'm like, something happiness. So Joy, sorry, I'm not familiar with their name, but
That's okay.
Joy. And so it kind of reminds me of like working with that emotions, like you're like, oh, this emotion is popping in, frustration or anger, and you talk to it. What do you want from me? Like, what is it that you want to bring in? And actually, it has been a game changer. Uh, Working with the dragon woman, and I'm also going to be part of her team to be a practitioner to help those people out that want to connect more with their emotions,
Cool.
and also as a healing modality as well. So definitely will be doing that next year. Um, and I will incorporate it with all my other sessions I've been doing. So look out for that for sure.
I love it. It's so exciting. And yeah, when I was in when I was practicing social work, because I have a master's degree in social work, when I was doing that, I had this technique that I told people to work with when they were very self-critical or when they had an internal voice that was critical. I would say, okay, so you're gonna give that voice a name. And then and then whenever it is hypercritical of you, and this for anyone who's possibly jumping down in the comments, I'm not telling people to dissociate. That's not what I'm instructing people to do. So you can take that and calm down with it. Um, but I would tell people to give that aspect of themselves a name and then be like, I'm gonna pick one out of the name, out of like the hat, like Brenda. I'd be like, okay, Brenda, you have 2 minutes to talk and then we're done.
Exactly.
You're being rude to me. I can be very direct with you.
That's
And
similar to that, something similar to it. But yeah, that's a good way to put it.
yeah, highly recommend, by the way, because it was very effective with me getting over a lot of my internal noise and things that were
That
coming
ego
in for me.
mind is like, you can't do this. Like, watch me.
Yeah. Oh, I can't? Just watch. Yeah.
Exactly. Watch me.
Well, we're coming up to the hour mark, so generally at an hour, I like to get ready to close out. But is there anything that you want to leave the people that are watching this right now with? Uh, just like, I don't know, direction, some type of a something that you feel like sharing, and then also give them a way to get in touch with you.
Something, I don't know. Just be you. Forget about what others think because that's very important. I struggle with that. I would always be like, I don't, I'm scared of what people would say if I transition, but it doesn't matter. They don't pay your bills.
Yes.
But yeah, and you could contact me at and on Instagram at like harmonic healing or like harmonichealing.com. I have my website. I will be adding Akashic records soon. So if you guys are interested in one, I'm happy to conduct one for you guys and my other modalities. I do live in the LA area, West Covina area. But if you're interested, I'm welcome. I welcome you here.
I miss
And
LA so much. I need to go back and visit.
you should. You're welcome
Yeah.
here.
Thank you. I will take you up on that at some point. I know it. Because I'm going to be out in Utah in May, so and also not a lot of people know this yet, but at the end of next year, so like in November, I have a retreat lined up in Thailand. Um,
Oh,
so
nice.
when I'm in
Beautiful
Thailand,
place.
I'm planning on flying out to LA first and then flying to Thailand.
Oh,
And
nice.
then before I come back here, instead of coming back like this way or like going Thailand, California, New Jersey again or New York area, I'm going to be just continuing west. And my goal is to circle the world once.
Ooh, that's cool. I went
Yeah.
to Thailand for my not anniversary. Was it? No, it wasn't anniversary. My wedding, um, what is it? Moon, whatever it's called.
Your honeymoon.
Yeah, yeah, my honeymoon. So we went to Thailand. Beautiful place. Highly recommend it. Beautiful
Ooh, I'm
people.
so excited. Okay, so Issa, say goodbye, and I'm gonna close this, and then I'm gonna say bye to you privately.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.